Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasandobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're going to discuss lessons from Lord Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. And how better to get lessons than from the head of our sampradaya, who just had a teachable moment. How often do we get a teachable moment in this lifetime? Often my ability to accept a lesson is blocked because I'm conceited. I think that I already know everything. Most people have a feeling that what's this person going to teach me anyway? Because who are they to talk? And in this way, I block my learning capacity by about 99%. Only a little teeny bit gets through. But in times when I'm humiliated or when I'm aware of the fact that I'm mortal and that death is imminent, no matter what age I am, or when I've given up the false ego out of a sense of deep appreciation of the advancement of another person, then there's a possibility that I can be open to a real lesson. And in the Gita, 13th chapter, Krishna says, Amanidvam adhamvipam himsa shantirarjavam, that the learning process, knowledge, begins with humility and pridelessness. And so Brahma, who's the head of our sampradaya, the most pious living entity in the universe, and who heard directly from Krishna, now is in another situation where he had playfully taken away the cows, cowherd boys, and in a sense of curiosity to see how powerful really Krishna is. He wasn't really prepared for what he would find out. And after seeing Krishna's unlimited power, Brahma was bewildered, and Krishna then reduced his exposure to his opulence. And just after that, Brahma's fallen down at the lotus feet of Krishna and is now offering prayers from his heart. And he has the proper frame of reference. He's not thinking, I'm a great teacher. He's not thinking that I know everything. I'm the head of a sampradaya, and I'm the first living being in the universe. He's thinking, I'm insignificant. And that if someone says they know about Krishna, Brahma says, then let them say so, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't know anything about Krishna. And so there are many verses, and we began reading in the Krishna book last night on our conference call of the first 3/4 of the chapter of Lord Brahma offering prayers. But I'm going to start tonight by reading a verse which is an absolute necessity, in that one must know the verse in the sense of imbibing the mood of the verse. And of course you know which one I'm talking about in the 14th chapter, text number 8. And no matter how many times one has heard the verse or the purport, which is so nicely done, that one can hear it again and benefit, because by adopting the mood of this prayer, Brahma literally says that one inherits the kingdom of God. And therefore it's a prerequisite to imbibe the mood of this particular verse. And I think we can also relate to Brahma, because right now he's in a situation where he's been humbled. And all of us are in situations in this lifetime, at one time or another, where we feel helpless and desperate situations, where miseries come to us unsought, where there are, we may feel hopeless and so forth. And so this verse will give us hope. It also adjusts how we react to whatever happens to us in this lifetime in such a way that we can take it as Krishna's mercy. And that is the real trick to preparing oneself to go back home, back to Godhead. So the verse, I'll say and please repeat. Tate nukampam susumikshamano Bunjana eva makritam vipakam Hridvagva purvir vidadan namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. And the translation is, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering your respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. Interesting that we're promoted to the kingdom of God, or any other place that we go, because we're dependent, and we are also in the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada mentioned many times, in a corporation, spiritual corporation, we get promoted by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to be eligible for promotion. And this verse gives the proper way to prepare oneself for that. Continuing, the word susamikshamana indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here by the words Dayabhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Pure Lord Krishna without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. Those who are on the path of devotional service have the goal of going back home, back to Godhead. And therefore, it is a small price to pay for them to become purified in the process, knowing that on one's own, it's very difficult to become free from a disease, and especially the last vestiges of the desire to enjoy the material world may linger. And therefore, Krishna very kindly does not let them linger for the sincere devotee. When he hears the call of the sincere devotee, he arranges a way in which to frustrate the devotee's desire or to show him a face of the world that causes the devotee to once and for all decide to give it up. This is actually the sweet surrender that the soul really is looking for, is that moment when he realizes that I'm not signing up for this anymore, this program, the material world. And first of all, one has to be aware that there's another program to sign up for. And then one must also be fully convinced that the material world is a place where we'll be frustrated, and decide once and for all that this is not I won't invest my energy here. So, tate anukampam susamikshamaano, a devotee who's come to that conclusion then knows it's inevitable. And in fact, one who's begun the journey already is in touch with the destination in a sense, because the destination is assured by Krishna and by Krishna's pure devotees, even better, who says you will get. And then, as we heard in the story of Nalakuvera and Manigriva, that Krishna, after he pulled down the twin Arjun trees, or actually he was tied to the mortar, then he saw the twin Arjun trees and he said, I have to go pull these down because Narada said I would. And Prabhupada mentions that it's when a pure devotee like Narada Muni makes a statement, then Krishna says, okay, I'll have to do that, because he's so indebted to his servitors. So a devotee in the position who has come to devotional service, although he or she may still be afflicted by the onslaught of miseries from the material world, has already taken shelter of the idea that I'm going back home, back to Godhead, and that I'm meant for Krishna. In fact, in the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada mentions, although for public consumption this may sound shocking, but the devotee considers himself to be like a sold animal. An animal. Once he's sold to a master, he's like, all right, I'm with that guy. And so with the devotee, he's like, I'm Krishna's sold out animal. I have no other aspiration in this life. I have no separate agenda. Whatever he says, I do. Actually, that's liberation. When one considers, I'll do everything the way Krishna wants me to do it, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. There are ways in which Krishna, through the scriptures, recommends how we do everything. How we eat, how we dress, how we sleep, how we wake up, how we perform all the bodily activities and things like that. To a great extent, that's a lot what's in the Pantrat Triki Vidhi passed down to us, ways in which to live that will actually be in harmony with Krishna's desires and his lifestyle and so forth. And a sold-out devotee will simply follow that way, and in the process, then not be concerned with whatever past reactions come after him. And the past reactions do seem to find us wherever we go. As Chanika Pandit said, just like a baby calf finds its mother in a herd of cows, similarly, karma catches up to us no matter where we go. And I noticed this when we were at the Goshala at Govardhan. We had last year instituted, during our hearing and chanting marathon, a system by which we take a short break at an opportune time just before it would get dark, and we'd have the devotees stock up a large quantity of bananas. And we go right outside the room, and there's the Goshala right next to where we are, and then we'd feed the cows. And right around that time was evening time for milking the cows. And little calves, no matter where they were, they'd be across the courtyard, they'd be tied up, sometimes inside the little Goshala barn, and they look like they're just biding their time. As soon as the Gwalar would take the rope off them, boom, they'd run straight. I couldn't even tell how they knew, but they would go, and then there was a whole line of cows, and one of them was their mother of the cow. Go right to the calf, right to the cow. Straight line, just as fast as he could possibly go, and then starts, drinking the milk and so forth. And that's so direct line. And I remember Chanakya Pandit saying, everything we deserve, it comes to us. My friend Divyanga Prabhu was reminding me on the way over here that Madhava Maharaj was saying that we don't get what we want in life, we get what we deserve. And that's a good mantra to remember. You don't get what you want, you get what you deserve. And so the devotee remembers this, tate anukampam susamikshmano, all the while, the deserved reactions from one's previous lives are coming, and we may not remember what we have done in a previous life. We may not remember what we did in this life, or even last week for that matter. But there is a record of it. We don't know, but there is. And so, tate anukampam susamiksha bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Scroll up just a little bit, Raman. I want to see the word for it. That's that the Lord anukampam, he gives his compassion, susamikshamano, and the devotee, this is his mood in life. Just earnestly hoping for the special mercy of the Lord, and bunjana means enduring. So this is one of the main lessons that Krishna gives us in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, to the teachings to Uddhava, and all other representatives of Krishna say the same thing, as one must learn to endure. Endure the hardships of material life caused by my own involvement in it. And what is that involvement? Atma kritam means it's done by myself. There's no other answer. That I did it to myself. Somehow or other, I've involved myself in unsavory ways by associating with lower modes of material nature. And then vipakam, the fruit of results. Now vipakam, our resident or traveling, regularly visiting Pandit Mukunda Dato Prabhu told me, also it sounds very similar to kumbhipaka. And so there's a way in which this verse means that we created our own hell. We made the pot, we put in the water, we turned on the heat, and we can't blame anyone else. The Avanti Brahmin said a similar thing when he was after he took sannyas and everyone was harassing him, saying, "You're not a real sannyasi. You're just a fake. You're a cheater." And they would spit on him, they would steal his stuff, they would insult him in every way they could, and he simply endured. And he said, this is all what I created for myself. And then he said, if somebody bites their tongue, who do they blame for the pain? You can scream at the sky or the person next to you, write a nasty email. Who are you going to write to? You bit your own tongue, sir. That's your problem. So similarly, Bunjana evatma kritam, you did it to yourself. This is the mood, this is the mentality of the devotee, that I created my own situation. Whatever I'm getting, I completely deserve. And vipakam, I'm cooking in my own juices. Those results are I jumped in the pot, I turned on the water, and now please don't complain. Just accept the fact that your thrashing around here in the material world has made repercussions, and you're in the midst of them. So he just endures, knowing that this is burning itself out. Yes, twindra gopa matavendra mahosakarma bandanu rupa palabhajanamata noti karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The devotee is being divested of all the past sinful reactions just by the dint of his walking on the path of devotion to Govinda. Krishna is taking away those reactions, and the devotee actually takes it that whatever reactions are coming now means that my previous karmas are just burning out. Let them all go away. And meanwhile, I'll just, for my own purification, I'll just take them. I'll suffer them, whatever they are. Hridvag vapur bhir vidadan namaste. So the devotee goes on. What do? In the midst of all this, the devotee goes on with his heart, his words, his body, and vidadan, offering namaha, prayers to the Lord. He's offering over and over again his obeisances to the Lord. And jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. So this is his life, and anyone who lives like this throughout this lifetime is the heir of the rightful heir of the kingdom of God. So what more needs to be said? I mean, it's just a matter of we're being rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if we take that rescue without any remonstration and simply endure whatever comes to us because of my own involvement in the material world, earnestly hoping for the mercy of the Lord, and considering it a small price to pay, and that whatever is coming is purifying me mercifully, then one will inherit the kingdom of God. Who could say otherwise? So that's one great lesson from this chapter. This verse has been immortalized by the Vaishnavas who have remembered it and spoken about it. And this commentary, which follows the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Sridhar Swami, that the son of a rich man has only one duty, and that is to stay alive, because he'll inherit his father's wealth. So similarly, we have one duty, and that is to stay alive in Krishna consciousness, one way or the other. And this is a good motto to live by, because one will find disappointing situations, especially disappointing our relationships can become disappointing. You can't predict which direction another person's going to go, or how they're going to react to something, or even if you have the best of relationships, if they're going to stay alive, and so forth. So because we're social beings and we have to interact with the outer world, we can't become hermits and live in a cave. You can try, but it just doesn't work out in this age. And we're not fit for that. This is one of the great austerities that we must perform, is to learn how to interact with others and tolerate whatever kind of discord there may be, or separation there may be, and so forth. And what else was I going to say? Any idea? What do you think so far? something we've heard before, right? But worth hearing again. Okay, so we can mark this as one lesson that is very usable. So now we're going to take 5 minutes and talk about how it is usable. And we'll take suggestions from the audience, both here in the studio and also on the internet. The text-in number tonight is printed on your screen. So please text in with your suggestions, questions, or just say Haribol. And for now, the live mics are out here and they're live. When you get the microphone, look and see if it's got a yellow dot on it. It's on standby, in which case you push it one time and you'll get a green light, and that means you're ready to talk. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Brainstorm. Who's that coming in?
This is Pratibha. Danvat Pranam Maharaj.
Yes, Pratibha.
Oh, I wanted to just give a comment on something that you had mentioned, that Narad Muni made a promise to Arjuna trees that you'll be delivered by Krishna, and to upheld the pure devotee's word, he was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And this story I had read about Srila Prabhupada that came to my mind, because this is such a beautiful thing that you had mentioned. And so what had happened is Srila Prabhupada said that all of you just follow the regulative principles, chant, and become pure, become 100% pure, and I'll take you to Vaikuntha. And so everybody looked very disheartened, and they looked at each other. So Srila Prabhupada realized that, okay, they are looking disheartened. So he said, okay, become 80% pure and I'll take you to Vaikuntha. Then still all the devotees were looking disheartened. So then he said, okay, become 50% pure and I'll take you to Vaikuntha. And they still didn't look very happy or excited. So then Prabhupada said, okay, forget everything, just hold my dhoti and I'll take you to Vaikuntha. And I was thinking...
Thank you. That's very important. Yeah, anecdote. And in the prayers we heard the other day by the demigods to Lord Krishna within the womb, do we remember the verse? Tvayam budaksha kila sattvadamni samadhina veshita chetasaike tvat padapotena mahatkritena krivanti govatsa padam bhavabdim. I remembered it. Okay, so this verse says that Tvayam budaksha kila sattvadamni, that the Krishna is the reservoir of everything. It all emanates from him. And then he says, Tvayam bujaksha, he's the ambujaksha. He lotus-eyed Lord. Akila sattvadamni, he's the dham, the source of everything. Samadhina veshita chetasaike, that one who is fixed on Krishna. They fix their minds on Krishna. Samadhina, they're in samadhi on Krishna. Samadhina aveshita cheta saike, that with one pointed attention. Verse, one pointed attention.
Tasmadeke namanisha bhagavan satvatam patihi shrotavya kirtitavyascha dheya pujasya nityada.
Any translation?
And so with one pointed attention, the devotees of the God engage in worshipping him, dheya pujasya, and remembering him. Nityada is always or without any breaks.
Nice. So a Sattvatam Pati, he's the master of the devotees. He's the Pati. He's the maintainer and the well-wisher of everyone. And if one simply meditates on him, another verse from the Bhagavad Gita, that just by meditating on Krishna, then everything goes well. Everything goes the way it should go. Krishna will maintain one personally who simply thinks of him. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nityabdi yuktanam yogakshemam baham yaham. This verse comes in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita after Krishna talks about the ways in which you can work the material energy to go up higher and get more frequent flyer miles to go up to the Swarga Loka, but then when you lose your frequent flyer miles, you have to come back down to coach. And that's a real pain. And then he says, but if you just think of me, if you just meditate on me, ananyas chintayantam, just the idea, just this is freedom. This is real liberation, that you connect everything to Krishna. You think of Krishna. You don't consider anything else. No other agenda except Krishna's agenda and his service. Ananyas chintayantomam. Your chinta, your thoughts, your thought process, it's all absorbed in how to serve Krishna, how to do your service for Krishna. And then he says, Yoga kshemam bahamyaham. I personally will take care of such a person in that condition. So going back to the verse I'm quoting from the 10th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it was the demigods praying to Lord Krishna in the womb. Tvayam bujaksha kila sattvadamni samadhina veshata chetasaika ekasaike. Means the eka, one-pointed, right? Tvayam bujaksha kila sattvadamni samadhina veshata chetasaike. Then tvatpada potena mahatkritena. So this mahatkritena means what great souls have done previously. So the great acharyas, you know what verse is coming already. The great acharyas have shown the path. They prescribe the method. They're just our acharyas. That's the way it is. Acharyopasanam. This is one of the means of actually becoming advanced in spiritual life. Krishna says in that same verse I quoted earlier from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Acharyopasanam sakshat. If one worships the acharya by following the acharya. There's acharyas in every discipline. That is, in every science. In physics there are acharyas. In sports there are acharyas. In music there are acharyas. There just are. It's just the way it is. There are acharyas. And if you don't have to be one. Don't get envious. As Krishna says later on in the Gita, he said, don't be envious of the acharya and think, what's that guy? Why does somebody have to be the acharya? I met somebody in Santa Cruz when we were distributing books, and he looks through and he goes, I want the thing without the commentary. And I said, but the commentary is good, you see. It comes from, he said, acharyas. I don't want the acharyas. I just want straight, me and Krishna, that's it, no acharya. It's like, there are acharyas. You got to listen to them. This is part of the process. So this mahatkritena, the acharyas are giving this, they're showing by their example. And this verse is saying that if tvatpada potena, that's the boat that carries you across the ocean of material existence. Follow the acharyas. Why is that a good deal? Why is that a smart thing to do? Because Bejare munayotagre bhagavantam adhoksajam sattvam vishudam shemaya kalpante yenutaniha. Even if you're not an acharya, even if you have no standing whatsoever, but you follow the best you can the previous acharyas, welcome back, Yashoda. If you follow the previous acharyas, the best of your ability, you're eligible for the same result that they got. Kalpante yenutaniha. You're eligible. Don't you like to be eligible for stuff? Yes. They call you and say, you're eligible. It's like, wow, how'd I do that? Here's how you do it. You're eligible for the highest thing available. How is it? Mahatkritena, if tvatpada potena, mahatkritena, get on the boat. Get on the boat that the acharya has left for you. And what is that boat? Last line is? Kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdim. It says that the ocean of material existence, which is formidable, it shrinks down to the size of a vatsapadam, which means the hoofprint of a little calf. There couldn't be anything sweeter than the hoofprint of a little calf in the mud either. I mean, compared to a big ocean of falls, just think of a little calf's hoofprint. That's something nice. There's a lot of sweet things in the world, but that's one of them. And so that gets filled up with a little rainwater, and that's all you got to do. Step over that. Once you take shelter of the boat and you say, I'm catching this boat, which is, I'm going to follow the acharya the best I can. And this is what Prabhupada was talking about in the story that Pratibha Mataji so eloquently related to us. That Prabhupada was saying, he's saying, I'm following my guru. He's following his guru. They're following their gurus, going back to Krishna. The process is being passed down. It's authorized. How else is something authorized if it's not through acharyas? One must have this. One must have axiomatic truth, and one must have a teacher to bring it to one. If you follow it, then, and do your best to get in this boat, then you're eligible for the same result. So this is one of the great benefits of simply accepting the teachings of Lord Brahma as he's giving here. And someone had brought up the point. You have another one? Okay, text, go ahead.
This is from Sundaranand Prabhu, and he says, stay...
Sundarananda?
Yes.
He's not feeling well. Everyone please wish him well. Sundarananda, we hope you feel better soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everyone say, Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
Okay, go ahead.
So his point is, stay alive in Krishna consciousness, somehow or other, endure.
Yeah, there was a famous song back in the 60s or 70s or something like that from a group from England called the Bee Gees. And they sang it was a song called, the rhythm of the thing is a disco beat. And it was staying alive, staying alive. I think there might even been a movie or something like that. It was staying alive, staying alive. So this is the advice. One should remember this mantra. Whatever difficulties, whatever obstacles you see, you must remember staying alive, staying alive. Stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Follow the best of your ability in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, and you will be delivered over the ocean of material existence. Thank you, Sundarananda, for remembering that point. Okay, we're still going?
I like the Atma Kritam done by himself. That's very, very important, because we have this tendency to put the blame on others every time something wrong happens. And so once we get that, the realization that whatever is happening to me is because of myself, then it becomes much more easier to relate to us. And also, last Sunday we were also talking about in the context of envy, that whatever is happening to others is also because of the Atkritam that they have done. So people are getting better things than us because they have done better things than us in the past. So it helps calm down a lot. So that's one takeaway point that I'm thinking we can definitely apply in our lives whenever we come across a situation.
It kind of comes in that's a really nice point to bring out, and it really comes in the realm of accepting full responsibility for whatever I have and wherever I am in my life right now. I accept full responsibility for it. And in the class that we had that I entitled, I first called it The Anatomy of a Fall Down, and I tell you, it was one of the best attended classes we had in the middle of the week. And then I did the same class 2 days in a row in New Vrindavan, but I called it Failure is the Pillar of Success. I was thinking maybe it's a little too negative, Anatomy of a Fall Down. I probably would have got a bigger crowd though. In any case, in that, we talked about how to come back from a misstep. There will be missteps, but Prabhupada says in the light of the Bhagavad, they may not be detrimental. They may become the pillars of success, not to be taken advantage of. Nothing's meant to be taken advantage of. This is assuming as one is sincere and not a cheater. But if one has a misstep in the practice of Krishna consciousness, if one goes on with the process and assumes responsibility for it. If you assume responsibility for the mistake that you made, then you can overcome it. Complete responsibility. Otherwise it will fester. How do you like that word? A festering sore. What does fester mean? Could you look it up? Because it's such a emotionally charged word, isn't it? A cut is festering. Oh, it's heavy. Give him the microphone. This could change everything.
It's a noun, and it means, I hope I am pronouncing it correctly, a suppurating sore. Its origin is Middle English, from Anglo-French, festre, from Latin fistula, pipe, just like a fistulous ulcer. Suppurating means something which forms or discharges pus.
Pus. Is there any verb? Is it ever used as a verb? Or an adjective? To rankle?
Yeah.
To wrangle is a feeling of resentment?
Or to cause increasing poisoning, irritation.
To cause increasing poisoning, irritation.
Irritation.
Okay, increasing, and it festers, it endures, it goes on. So there's a way in which not taking responsibility, full responsibility, causes my suffering and my involvement in the material world to fester. So this is just actually any self-help, any self-respecting self-help guru in the world will begin on this platform that you must accept full responsibility for whatever's happened to you up to this point in your life. And yes?
Actually, I really like the point which you said, following the acharyas. That's the wealth which we have. People have set the example. And I remember a small anecdote from what Jayadvaita Maharaj was mentioning in a class when there was a discussion on Mahajanas, and they were saying there are 12 Mahajana, and then one devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you're the 13th Mahajan. And Prabhupada said, you're the 14th Mahajan. So he was mentioning the point that what we have is just to follow the footsteps of acharyas.
Very powerful. So these are usable lessons, things that we can apply in our lives, right? For instance, how would you apply in a practical way? Can you think of? More text, let's hear them.
So please accept my humble obeisances. Hari Bol, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for your inspiring class. Your servant, Mother Gopa Patni Devi Dasi from Alachua.
Hare Krishna, thanks for texting in. So good to hear from you. Another text? Okay, yes, Rajesh.
Prabhuji, to be in the game, stay alive, I think as we are here, we really feel very protected, very blessed with the association. Yesterday I got a call from Haldarupa Prabhu, and who is moving back here. And
let's hear it. One big Haribol.
And he mentioned that in the conversation, he said, I just cannot tell you that, how difficult it is to away from ISV. So I felt happy that he's coming. Then we really feel, blessed to be protected in the community where we are. So I felt, once you're away, it's hard to stay in the game. So it's better to be within the protected
So the lesson
area.
is no moving away. Okay, Malini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
This is one of my favorite verses, Tattenu Kampam, because the point that you mentioned that everything we deserve just comes to us. It is not only the positive things that come to us, but also the difficulties that come in our life. We don't call for them, but it just happens. It just happens one after another, one after another. You just think like you're taking a deep breath, and before you finish taking the breath, another thing pops up. But this verse actually helps a lot to keep us humble and always keep ourselves surrendered to Krishna, thinking that this is whatever I've done in my previous lives, my past karma, but all I have to do is just tolerate. And it's very encouraging, and it also gives us something to look forward to. And also the point that I may have deserved much worse than that, but Krishna is only giving me just a little bit. So that was very nice to remember back. And I was also thinking about what Shraddha Mataji said, that how this is done by themselves. the class that you were giving last Sunday about envy. I couldn't attend the whole lecture, but I was just listening to the last part, and I was with my family and my sisters, and somehow they just got a glimpse of it, and they just heard one point, and that what you mentioned, that envy comes when you think that you are the center. And that was, I felt that was a summary of the whole class, but that just that point, actually everybody listened to that, and everybody just looked at each other and saying, yeah, that is true. And I was thinking how everybody is going on in this world, busy 24 hours, thinking about just themselves, that me, how do I eat well, how do I do things so that I could be more comfortable, how can I decorate myself, and there's no place for Krishna in their life, and that's why envy, difficulties, everything comes seemingly that they seem difficult, but it is nothing, but we just have to move the center from me to Krishna. So that was just, I was just meditating upon that, and it was very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, that's very helpful. It's a practical suggestion and advice that is actually, it works because it's true, because Krishna is actually the center and I'm not. And taking this experiment of taking oneself out of the center and putting Krishna in the center and becoming the servant of the servant of the servant without expecting anything in return. It sounds risky, doesn't it? To the materially trained mind, it sounds risky that what's in it for me? That's the question that the mind is materially conditioned, is asking over and over again, what's in it for me? And it seems counterintuitive, therefore, to give everything to someone else. In fact, when people hear the verse, karmanye vedikaraste mapalishu kadachana, at any time you're not entitled to the fruit, kadachana, at any time. Don't expect the fruit. It's like, what are you talking about? And then the other point where Krishna's like, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram, that I'm the only enjoyer. This can be shocking to the materially trained mind that you're the center, everything's meant for you, try hard to do that. But actually, the devotee who enters into that life voluntarily and experiments with risking everything by giving it all to Krishna soon finds satisfaction. Or even if one begins in a small way, as Krishna recommends in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, if you can't do this, do that. If you can't do that, do this. Just start being charitable, he says at one point. And then you'll find that as you give, you actually grow. And that your real wealth is not in capturing everything, but in your service attitude. And once you discover that, then you can be happy at any time and in any circumstance, because service is always available to you, because that's your constitutional position. Whereas enjoyment and controlling is never available for you because it's not going to work out. So it's a much better equation. It just works at the end of the page. That this works for the part and parcel of Krishna, who's constitutionally a servant of the Lord. A couple more. Yes, we have a text that came in.
It's from Sudeep Prabhu.
Sudeep, fantastic.
Yeah. And he says, following the acharyas is the path of least resistance. Even in the material world, people try to follow those who have met success. No need to reinvent the wheel. Simply follow the path which is already laid in front. That in itself is an offering of gratitude to the acharyas.
Beautiful. What a nice statement and well put. In the lecture series that I distributed to some of you, and I would like to do again to those who didn't get them, from Sadaputta Prabhu, who spoke about his magazine called Origins, that was printed under the auspices of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. In one section he talks about dogmatism, and that oftentimes people think of the concept of being dogmatic as in a pejorative way, and they might even accuse somebody who is involved in a spiritual path of being dogmatic. You ever heard that before? I've heard it a lot, especially in America, distributing books throughout the 70s. People were into, this was a kind of a renaissance of a romantic period in which, discover yourself, do it for yourself. Everything's free. It's in the music, and you'll find, the Summer of Love was 1969, and before that, so many of these concepts, and then the idea of following a master. It seemed like, this is just dogmatic. You're just being dogmatic. But Sariputta Prabhu points out that everybody's dogmatic. You have to be to save time. Otherwise, you'll be endlessly caught in going back to recheck everybody's math to make sure Einstein had it right. I say, like that, good luck. Look at it, all his notebooks. That's what not being dogmatic means. You got to go back and check all the math yourself. Good luck. Otherwise, you got to accept, that his equation works, and you got to move on from there. An axiomatic truth, and there are acharyas who have discovered it or presenting a philosophy in a way that we can just take it. Otherwise, as I've mentioned previously, you get into infinite regress. And so his next point is that if you're dogmatic in following the right process, you're just perfectly fine. It's just if you dogmatically follow something that doesn't work out, then you're blindly following, and you're not in a good situation. Yes. Okay, another text.
I just want to let you know that I got several text messages giving me the meaning of furtive. The verb, you were looking for furtive?
Furtive?
Verb. Yeah. Festive.
Fester.
Yeah, not fester, sorry. Fester.
Please tell.
No, they're all the same.
But who wrote in?
We had Pratibha Mataji telling us, Govind Charan Prabhu telling us about that, giving.
Thank you. Both
so
of
there
you.
was much interest in that. So this one is from Gandharvika Mataji. And before that, just a quick short one from Asit Prabhu. He's from Folsom. He's thanking you for this wonderful interactive class, and he really looks forward to that in the middle of the week, especially.
Oh, thank you so much.
So Gandharvika Mataji is offering her respects to you. And she says that if we do not make voluntary lifestyle changes, VLCs, then one is forced to make such changes forcefully. For no reason, car wouldn't start this evening, and I had to wait for AAA for an hour. Was forced to remember Lord. But Krishna also helps us to keep alive through various means like this online transmission of ISP programs. I'm enthused to be alive in Krishna consciousness because Krishna helps.
Jai, that's beautiful. I wonder did she write that while she was waiting for the AAA?
Did you hear that, Mataji? You can text me.
Yeah, so this other voluntary life changes, one can decide that I will surrender and look for every opportunity to do so voluntarily before such changes are imposed by one's environment and circumstances at eternal time. Cheat death before death cheats you. Death's the greatest cheater. What is it? Die to live. Die before dying. Die to live. Hegel said die to live. Yes.
You began in the beginning of today's lecture, you mentioned the teachable moments.
Teachable moments,
yeah,
yes.
So I was remembering that you had sent, those bhakti notes on the Shravanadi Jal, so I just took out one of them. So you defined a teachable moment is concisely defined as an unplanned opportunity that arises to give one on insight. So, and you also mentioned that usually when some miseries happen to you, that may, if you are intelligent, you may take it as a teachable moment. So I was remembering one of losing jobs. Since I've come to US, it's happened to me thrice. Initially I was in a startup, and then one day I went for dentist appointment, and then a call came saying that, your job is terminated. I was totally new that time in the US. And then once something happened with my work permit, and then third time recently. So initially when I came, I used to see others, the desks very decorated, my colleagues and all. And I always wanted to get pictures of my kids and family. And
But then I noticed that those people have to, when they are let go, they have to pack everything very quickly. So now, I'm always prepared. I have the bag. If they tell me today, I can just leave it there. I never keep anything at home. Whatever they gave me, I can leave it there. I only have a picture of Krishna which I'll take it with me and come back. So that is one of the teachable moments.
Bravo, that's right. I like that. Yeah, it's a metaphor for our whole stay here in the material world, practically. Don't get too cozy, because that call will come in and just kick you right out. Devotees try to stay unencumbered, although it doesn't mean to live with less than you need to engage in service. This will be false renunciation. But it means not to over-collect and not get too cozy here in the material world. That's what intoxication makes you try to get cozy. I mentioned the advertisement for some malt liquor. There was an advertisement. I forget the name of the malt liquor, but they had billboards, and it would say, I think it was called, Black Crow. Black Crow malt liquor gets you cozy. and the whole idea is just try to forget everything and stay comfortable here in the material world. But devotees, they're aware of this inconvenient situation that somehow or other I've gotten myself in, so they don't want to get cozy. They don't want to lie in their desk with all the fancy stuff, and then when the security guards stand in there, have to rip it all off again and pack up all the pictures and everything like that. That's really a nice one. Thank you very much. Yes?
Yeah, one more point I really like is what Prabhupada mentions in the purport is sometimes a devotee has a little desire to enjoy the material world, and then Krishna comes and gives curative treatment, and we have to take it as blessing from his personal hands. And that makes it very easy. And I've started quoting this verse when people always ask that, why do good people suffer? And Lord, I've been following, or I've started into Krishna consciousness, but things are becoming so difficult for me. So this comes in really handy. This is Krishna doing it just to take out the last of it from you.
It's so merciful of Krishna to help the devotee who has taken up the path of surrender. There's a verse, Satyam Dishiti Artitam Artito Ninam Naivartito Ya. What is it? Satyam Dishiti Artitam Artito Ninam Naivartito Ya. Swayam Vidate Bhajatam Anichatam Ichapitaram Nijapada Padlavam. This verse says, I think it's from the 5th canto, Satyam Artitam Artito Ninam. That is said that sometimes people come to Krishna and they begin worshiping him, and then they start asking for all kinds of things that aren't good for it, the practitioner. And it's like, wanting to drink poison. So Krishna says, he may be a fool, but I'm not a fool. I know what he really wants. So he says, Swayam vidate vidatam anichatam. He fulfills the devotee's desire. Ichapitaram nijapada palavam, but he does it in such a way that the devotee won't want it anymore. It's like, here you go, bub, you asked for this. And he takes it, but it comes in such just enough sand in the sweet rice so that it's like, I don't like this anymore. And then he said, instead, he gives him his own lotus feet. He gives him his own service. So this is Krishna. He's so expert that he knows the subtle movements of the living entity's mind and desire. He witnesses it all the time. So it's actually an embarrassment to the devotee who's becoming purified that those kinds of desires still exist within the heart. And the great devotees who analyze themselves carefully are like the devotees cleaning the Gunija temple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed them once, twice, thrice. Even the dust on the outside, even the grains after they're thrown out, he could get those out too because they can get blown back in. So careful the devotee has to be all the time. And then Raghunath Das Goswami is speaking about how this subtle desire to enjoy devotional service even through fame, adoration, and distinction. Oh, look how nicely. Oh, look who I am. And he said, this is like the stool of a hog. Hog eats stool. Then he passes stool. What is that? Something unimaginable. And so he says this is how abominable it is to the devotee, to allow those subtle desires to remain. So one sincerely is praying for pure devotional service, and Krishna will actually give circumstances in which one can once and for all give these things up. And Srivas Pandit Prabhu has given me the book. It is indeed the 5th canto. It's the 19th chapter, entitled The Island of Jambudweep. The verse says, Satyam dishyati artatam artito nirnam. I'm sorry, 5:19:27. I'll say, and then if you'd like, you can repeat. Satyam dishyat yartitam artito nrinam. Naivartato yat punar artita yataha. Soyam vitate bhajatam anicchatam. Ichapitaram nijapada palavam. And the translation is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead's special mercy. Ramananda, look under this 5:19:27, see how many hits you got. It's also quoted, I believe, in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, along with a counterpart verse in Bengali. 5:19:27. I just want to see how many, where else is quoted. Pardon me? Oh. Okay, Madhya 22:37 through 39. No need, I'll just read the purport. Purport: the devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with material motives, but this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. Srimad Bhagavatam 2:3-10 advises, can you scroll down a little bit? Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of material desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, he should engage in devotional service. In this way, not only will the devotee's desires be fulfilled, but the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called Sakama Bhakta, and one who serves the Lord without any motives is called Akama Bhakta. Krishna is so merciful that he turns a Sakama Bhakta into an Akama Bhakta, a pure devotee. An Akama Bhakta who has no material motives is satisfied simply to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6:22. Yam labva chaparam labham manyate narikam tataha. If one engages in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not want anything more. This is the highest stage of devotional service. The Lord is so kind, even to a Sakama Bhakta, a motivated devotee, that he satisfies his desires in such a way that one day he becomes an Akama Bhakta. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, became a Bhakta with the motive of getting a better kingdom than that of his father, but finally he became an Akama Bhakta and said to the Lord, Swamin kritartos pivaram nayache. My dear Lord, I am very satisfied simply to serve your lotus feet. I do not want any material benefits. Sometimes it is found that a small child eats dirty things, but his parents take away the dirty things and offer him a sandesh, or some other sweetmeat. Devotees who aspire for material benedictions are compared to such children. The Lord is so kind that he takes away their material desires and gives them the highest benediction. Therefore, even for material motives, one should not worship anyone other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must fully engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that all his desires will be fulfilled, and at the end he can go back home, back to Godhead. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.37 through 39 and 41 as follows. Anyakami, a devotee may desire something other than the service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Jadi kare Krishnara bhajana. But if he engages in Lord Krishna's service, na magiteha Krishna tare dena swacharun. Krishna gives him shelter at his lotus feet, even though he does not aspire for it. Even though he does not aspire for it. Are you as shocked as I am? Krishna kohe. The Lord says, everyone say, Krishna kohe. Ama bhaje. He is engaged in my service. Mage bishaya sukh. But he wants the benefits of material sense gratification. Amrita chadi bisha mage. Such a devotee is like a person who asks for poison instead of nectar. E bada murka. That is his foolishness. Ami vigna. But I am experienced. E murke bishaya keni diba. Why should I give such a foolish person the dirty things of material enjoyment? Swacharnamrita. It would be better for me to give him the shelter of my lotus feet. Vishaya bulaiba. I shall cause him to forget all material desires. Kama lagi Krishna bhaje. If one engages in the service of the Lord for sense gratification, payo Krishna roshe. The result is that he ultimately gets a taste for serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Kama chadi dhasa hoite hoy abhilashe. Get ready for a huge Haribol at the end of this. He then gives up all material desires and wants to become an eternal servant of the Lord. It's like graduation when you throw your hat in the air, right? That's it, the graduation. He then gives up all material desires and wants to become an eternal servant of the Lord. Problem's finished. The only problem is I still have some idea for my own separate happiness in this material world. And I keep it over here. It's like, this is for Krishna. I'll give him a little token, 20%. And the other 80%'s for me. And then later on, maybe, all right, I'll give him 1 more %. But when it's 100% for Krishna, no more problem. All problems finished. And this is the graduation. And then one has a chip in the big game because then it becomes unlimited. Then one's relationship with Krishna, there's no hindrance at all to one developing one's full-blown relationship with Krishna eternally. Why wouldn't such a person be completely happy and satisfied at every moment, no matter what the external circumstances, no matter what kinds of waves of miseries, material miseries are washing upon him in this material world? He doesn't care anymore because he has no more vested interest in the material world. I just noted, because I read this morning, I'm going through the 7th canto, and I'm reading the section about how Lord Nrsingadev comes out of the pillar. It's so nice every time to hear it. how Hiranyakashipu is like, so where is he anyway? Come on, show me God. And then he like pounds on the pillar, and then this roaring sound comes out. Like everyone in the whole universe begins to freak out, and especially Hiranyakashipu. And then the Lord appears, half man, half lion, to bifurcate him. And meanwhile, when the whole thing's unfolding, the demigods are hiding behind the clouds, and they're nervous because they just want things to go back to normal. They have their cozy situation. They have something. They have their cozy situation, and they don't want to mess it up. And Hiranyakashipu messed it up, and it would have really gotten messed up if Nrsingadev failed. And meanwhile, they're up there going, come on, get him. Whoops! And that's almost what happened, because although Nrsingadev there was no chance of him failing, just like a cat who plays with a mouse and catches him and then lets him go. After Lord Nrsingadev caught Hiranyakashipu, he let him go just so he could catch him again. Meanwhile, the demigods, because they're thinking, now he saw us, now if he loses, we're getting twice as much. And this is the problem with having a vested interest in the material world, is because now I have something to lose. But someone who surrenders to Krishna and decides, I've got nothing more, there's nothing more for me here in the material world, it all belongs to Krishna, I'm leaving it all for him, all his service, then nothing left to lose, and all for Krishna. It's all in his hands now. So how could there be any misery for such a person? Any unhappiness, even in the face of past reactions coming to the devotee. It's like, let him come, I already decided. I'm not in this game anymore. It can't touch me anymore. The only reason that the past miseries can touch me is because I've decided I'm trying to keep some corner of this creation for myself. And then I'm affected, because I have a vested interest in the material world. So what it is to declare at the end of the graduation, that last line, that now no more material desires, he then gives up all material desires and wants to become an eternal servant of the Lord. Throw your hat in the air. You just graduated. You're okay now. You're in the big leagues. You're in the big leagues. Otherwise, it's halfway, which means that's the person who gets it the most. The fool doesn't suffer because he thinks everything's cool. I got my Black Crow malt liquor. I'm cozy. Mode of ignorance. And then the Paramahamsa is completely free and no longer influenced by anything. But everyone else in between, it's a hard row to hoe. So better surrender sooner than later and move up to the next level. So one more lesson from this chapter, which is very important. Of course, you all know what is coming to. Rajesh.
Prabhuji, what you said right now, it's feel like one day, but I was just thinking how it is possible, how do you compare when you have a responsibility matrix, you have like a social obligations, and then you have to take care of a few things versus what you said.
It doesn't mean you don't take care of things. It doesn't mean that you walk away from your job. It doesn't mean you change your style. It just means you change your heart and you've decided this is what I'm going to do. You may not be able to move into that lane right now. The lane may still be a little blocked up. The traffic may be moving at 2 miles an hour also. But you've already decided that's where I'm going. I mean, once you decide I'm going from here to Burlingame, and it's like, that's where my thing is. I'm going there. They can block this road, and then you'll go take another road. So at the time when you make the decision, then it's not like you're going to grow 4 arms all of a sudden. It's not like that happens, but the internal change in you means it changes your whole frame of reference to the whole world. And that's what this verse is about. Tatenu kampam sisamikshamana. This is the frame of reference of a devotee. That I have no more vested interest in the material world. What's done is done. I already did my stuff here, and it's coming back to me. But that's over for me. And whatever's coming now is washing over me. That's simply burning out whatever's left, and it's also encouraging me. It's good. Thank you. that encouraged me. I'm going to surrender more. So you go on doing your duty. You go on taking care of what you have to take care of. Do your duty dutifully. But at the same time, your frame of reference has changed. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed this to several devotees. One of them was Sanatana, another Rupa Goswami, another to Raghunath Das Goswami. They wanted out quick. When they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, that's it, that's what we want. And then they couldn't, because they were already in the middle of it all. They had jobs to sustain, they had families and contracts and insurance on the chariot or whatever they had. And so, whatever there is, there is. But, and they said, let us out. And Mahaprabhu wrote him a letter and said, not so fast. He said, you work it out, you come out when there's an opening. And he said, he said, actually, it can be even more of an intensive meditation, because he gave the example of a paramour, which means a woman who's got a lover on the outside. She's inside the house, she's doing all her work, and she does it extra carefully. So make sure everything looks like, I'm good, right? I look good, right? I'm doing good, right? Meanwhile, she's always thinking of the lover somewhere else. So Mahaprabhu gave this example. And he said, so the devotee, he's already married into this material world. Atma kritam. I already did it. I already signed the papers to be in this material world. They said, here's your papers. You want to be in here? Saying, yeah, I'm signing, you're in it. Okay, you're not getting out of the contract so fast. So he said, but while you're stuck in there, now you meditate on your relationship with Krishna. You may do your work here ever so carefully, but all the time your whole intention is, I'm gone. I'm out of this. As soon as I get a little open, I'm giving these guys the slip. I'm out the back, Jack. No need to be coy, Roy. Pick up the key, Lee. Set yourself free. You got to get out. So the devotee is looking for that opportunity. Like Vidura, when he was yelled at by Duryodhana, uncalled for, it was just out of anger and lust and this whole greed situation that the family had cooked up, and they were trying to cheat the Pandavas, and he wanted nothing to do with it. It wasn't his thing. But it's family. You can't just walk away from your family. It's really hard. To talk about your job, get away from family, that's practically impossible, right? Yes? Yes. But then he got the opportunity. Duryodhana started yelling at him and said, I'm going to kill you. And he said, I'm going to save you the trouble. I'm leaving. I'm committing social suicide. Here's my bow. I don't need this. I'm gone. That was the internal energy acting at that point. That was Krishna saying, there's your out. And he always gives you an out. But you have to develop. You have to be ready. Die to live. Die inside. Say, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going back to Godhead. I'm taking devotional service as my life and soul. And even you still have to work as a slave to the material energy externally. You're not bound internally anymore. Not bound internally anymore. You can meditate on Krishna. There's no hindrance to devotional service. There's no circumstance that can stop you from your intention to go on serving Krishna. It's not external. In fact, Arjuna wanted to change this external situation, but Krishna said, good luck. It's not going to work out for you. Whatever you develop internally, you can have your seat back in the front. Whatever you developed internally, that's what's going to manifest externally. So we live a life of preparation. We have to consider this verse, te anukampam, says, I'm in this already. So now everything I'm doing is preparing myself. Put yourself in the situation when the opportunity comes, you're ready to grab it. Put yourself in that situation, and it always comes. Krishna's ready to extend the opportunity. You have to be ready to take it. Louis Pasteur, great discoveries come only unto the prepared mind. Prepare your mind, prepare your heart. And what better way to prepare yourself when you're locked up in a situation in the material world, which is contrary to what you want to do. That makes it more intense. It's better. That's the place from which you really cultivate internally and develop that desire. Shalabahu.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My question is, even we have the detachment to the average material things, and then still there is a mind and the desire is still in there.
There's a what?
Mind and the desire.
Mind and desire.
Yeah, the best example I can, today morning when I wake up, after the prayer, I have such a good mood and good thoughts. And so, something that I practice, that I try to guard that thought or that mood, keep going. And then I was thinking all day, what are the things going to happen? There is a curiosity and the excitement. For example, when I'm driving from Gilroy to here, what is Maharaj going to bring it today? That curiosity is there. And then I'm aware that the level of my mind and the desire. So it is more exciting in the way than the detachment or the afraid that Mataji was explaining. So is that anything wrong, or is that the way we need to be?
Didn't sound anything wrong to me. Did you guys hear anything wrong with that? It's all right? Sounds okay. Yeah, becoming entangled in service, and this is really, although we may not be thinking in the form of Shabasundar all day long, if one is wrapped in one's service to Krishna, it's still Krishna. It's his internal energy. And one goes on with one's work. Tasmat sarvishu kaleshu mamanusmara yudyacha mayarpitamano budhir mami vaishyatya samshayaha. Krishna says, as you're working, go on thinking of me at the same time. That's how to do it. Yeah. And we have to renew our bhakti every day and start over every day, and don't take it for granted, and don't think I've reached a point where now I'm good, but to always be running scared, hungry and humble. Hungry and humble. As soon as you think you're finished, you're finished. Always be an eternal student. Okay, one more lesson I want to take from this chapter is the other very important, well, all these verses in this chapter are important, but the other one is Jnane Prayasam Mudapasya Namanta Eva. What number is that? 14? 3? Oh, comes early on. Okay, so 10, 14, 3? Okay, 10, 14, 3. I'll say, please repeat. Jnane prayasam mudapasya namanta eva. Jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiyavartam. Stane stita shrutikatam tanuvan manobhir. Ye prayasho jita jito pyasitais trilokyam. This verse was examined by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not only was it spoken but from the mouth of the head of our Sampradaya, Lord Brahma, but then the verse was examined and appreciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted as the plausible means for one to attain the perfection of life. Wouldn't you want to just keep that verse with you wherever you go? Let's see what's in it. Here's the translation. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. This is all doable stuff. Everything in here is possible for anyone starting at any position. They can do this and come to the perfectional stage. Let's say together, those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees. Certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Purport. Here the word udapasya clearly indicates that one should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation, for it invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of God. The word jivanti indicates that a devotee who always hears about Lord Krishna will go back home, back to Godhead, even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning the Lord. That's doable. In the case of non-devotees, the word tanuvan manobhi, Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained the word tanuvan manobhi by the body, words, and mind in three ways. In reference to devotees, through their body, words, and mind, they are able to conquer Lord Krishna, thus becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness. They can touch his lotus feet with their hands, call him to come with their words, and attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. In the case of non-devotees, the word tanuvan manobi refer to the word ajita, unconquered, and indicate that those not engaged in the loving service of Lord Krishna cannot conquer the absolute truth by their bodily strength, verbal expertise, or mental power. Despite all their endeavors, the ultimate truth remains beyond their reach. In reference to the words jitta, conquered, the words tanuvan manobi indicate that the pure devotees of Lord Krishna conquer his body, words, and mind. Lord Krishna's body is conquered because he always remains by the side of his pure devotees. Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees, and Lord Krishna's mind is conquered because he always thinks about his loving devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained the words tanuvan manobi in regard to the word namantaha, offering obeisances. He explains that the devotees can take full advantage of the transcendental topics of the Lord by offering all respects to those topics with their body, words, and mind. One should engage his body by touching the ground with his hands and head, body by touching the ground with his hands and head while offering obeisances to the topics of the Lord. One should engage his words by praising transcendental literatures such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the devotees who are preaching such literatures. And one should engage his mind by feeling great reverence and pleasure while hearing the transcendental topics of the Lord. In this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back home, back to Godhead, for eternal life at the Lord's side. So, jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. These words spoken by Lord Brahma were re-mentioned in a conversation that Lord Chaitanya had with Ramananda Roy when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking Ramananda Roy to speak to him about how to attain the perfection of life and devotional service. He had mentioned other items which Lord Chaitanya considered external and therefore asked him to move on. And when he came to this verse, which recommends that one give up the speculative process and simply serve the topics of the Lord, this is very powerful for us because there's a way in which this verse is talking about the way to actually connect with Krishna is through the topics of Krishna. Shinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantaksto hyabadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Just by hearing these topics, one gains punya, the spiritual punya, just by hearing. And so if one commits oneself to submissive hearing, the mind may object at certain points. The mind may say, I have better things to do, and may resist. However, if one regularly commits oneself to submissively hearing the vibration, accepting that it is Krishna himself, and that just by allowing the vibration to enter into one's mind and ears without any bias, unbiased hearing, then one will evolve in spiritual life. And the unwanted desires within the heart that are holding one back, that one doesn't even have the courage to remove oneself, those will be eradicated as well by the grace of the sound vibration. That's how powerful this verse is. And therefore, one doesn't have to change one's clothes, one's job, or one's style. But stane stita, stay in your position, in your social position, whatever that may be. Shruti gatam, tanuvan manobir. And arrange your body and mind and words so you can worship the sound. That's what it's talking about. Worship the sound vibration. So when we take time out to hear Krishna book, in fact, when the Krishna book first came out, some devotees were incredulous. The Prabhupada, how can there be so many cows in one area? And Prabhupada, one devotee said, I think this is too fantastic. And Prabhupada said, I find you to be too fantastic. And so, because how could God not be unlimited and still be God? If you can circumscribe God and relegate him to something that you can understand with your intellect, then he's not God. That's somebody else. But beyond the intellect, beyond what you can understand, how all those cows are going to fit in Vrindavan, how Krishna could have 16,108 wives and live with them each in a palace, and then have how many children from each? 10 from each. That's a pretty big family. Big family reunion. Where are they going to fit everybody? Where's there a park big enough for that? And so forth. You have to give that up. Jnani priyasam. There's no limit to God. My intelligence has now conformed to my false ego, which means that I see the world from my frame of reference, that I'm the controller, and the frog in the well who escapes one day and jumps on the back of a little bullock cart, makes his way all the way down to Stinson Beach, and he looks out there and he goes, wow, that's the biggest well I ever saw. And then he catches a ride back and he comes out and he tells his uncle, that's the biggest well I've ever seen in my life. How big is it? It's huge. Twice as big as this? He's all puffed up thinking like my well's the big thing in the universe. And everyone thinks this is my little place. When the Sputnik took off into outer space for the Russians, Prabhupada noted the fact that when they were looking out the window down at the earth, they were going, there's my Moscow. Your false ego has conformed your mind to this one little place, Moscow. And that's all you can see in the whole universe, even though you go so far up. So if one stays in one's position, stanestita shutigatam, but then surrenders, puts one's head at the feet of this sound vibration and said, this is Krishna. And then from that, one comes to conquer the unconquerable. So this is one of the great lessons of the teachings of Lord Brahma that can be taken by any of us in any situation in life if one begins the process of devotional service, especially by augmenting one's hearing process. Interesting, I was reading in the Yoga Sutra, preparing for this class at the Google, that just how the mind takes in through the senses, and then it offers up to the intelligence all these impressions, and then according to how the mind and the intelligence has been molded by the three modes of material nature, one of the commentators, ancient commentators on the Yoga Sutra said it's like when you take molten copper and then you pour it into a mold and it assumes the form of that mold. So as one's mind and intelligence have been affected by the three modes of material nature, by taking in sound vibrations from the material world, it takes on a certain frame of reference and a kind of mold, so everything that comes into it conforms to that mold. But by hearing the transcendental sound vibration, the mold is broken. And then one can actually come to the position of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atapite deva padam bhuja dvaya prasada leshana grihita eva hi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko picharam bachinvan. This is another verse from this chapter in which Krishna says, it all happens by the mercy of the lotus feet of the Lord. And now we'll take a harmoniist. Is there a harmoniist in the house? Prabhuji. Harmoniist in the house? I don't see Priya Kishori, so you're hired. You play this? I need a kartal. Got a small kartal? Okay, that's good. Small is beautiful. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Itai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Tai Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attention here in the studio and online. And now we're going to have an arati ceremony, which is offering various articles to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What can we actually offer to God that He doesn't already have? But with love and devotion, He says in the Bhagavad Gita, you can offer me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water. So we're offering some incense. This is the earth. We're offering some flour, which comes from Krishna. He makes that from the earth. Some water comes out of Mahavishnu. Some air with the fans and a little cloth. All these things are things that are easily gotten, that are created by Krishna, but it's the devotion. So this is a devotional ceremony to stand before the Lord, to observe His bodily form, which is transcendental. He has appeared in this form as the Archa Vigraha, just so we can serve Him and decorate Him and be on His schedule rather than ours. That's a great mercy, because if we're on our own schedule, it's hell. But when we're on Krishna's schedule through the Panchat Vidhi, then it's actually, we're with Krishna in the spiritual world. There's no difference. That's why the temple's transcendental, because Krishna's house and His schedule. And we're on His schedule instead of ours. Much better. So now we'll put all the asanas away. We'll stand up for this beautiful ceremony that's been going on for millions of years from the time of creation. And we'll sing our heart to our heart's content. And we have room, you can dance. Let yourself go and dance wildly without considering outsiders. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.